why do you see some houses on Zillow that are up there forever, even in a seller's market?
It's because they didn't do the things that we just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't price right.
You just watch this video and do what we say, and you won't be one of those examples.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like people think like, oh, it's maybe not a sure thing when you sell your house. It is. Like, it 100% is. Like, I can guarantee with confidence.
Hey there, Lincoln here from BoWacademy.org. Today, I am excited to have Cassidee Curran here, Cass the Realtor. We're going to talk through the home selling process and walk through every single step of that so that we can all understand what it takes to sell your house, right? And of course, make a profit so that you can go on to buy the next thing or to retire, however you want to use that money so that it's maximized and the process is pain-free. And that's what Cassidee does for her clients all the time. So we're going to have her walk us through. And of course, I would love to have Cassidee introduce herself.
Nice. Thank you, Lincoln. And my name is Cassidee. I am team leader of the FORRE Group in the Philadelphia area, and I work with Compass Real Estate. So I'm excited to be here because, like Lincoln said, my goal really, whether you're buying a house or selling a house, which is what we're talking about today, is to make sure that you maximize your value, maximize your experience, and so you can move on and, you know, get the best from your investment and make the most of it. I'm excited to kind of talk you through the ins and outs of the process and, you know, give you some insight into what's behind the curtain of selling your house.
Yeah. And just before we get into it, I just want to get a little back into your background. And I know you work at Compass as well, right? Mm-hmm. Can you just tell us a little bit about how long you've been in real estate and why you got into it?
Yeah, definitely. So I've worked at Compass Real Estate for the past 3 years. Previous to that, I worked at Berkshire Hathaway for 3 years. So I've been in real estate for 6 years now. So pretty much what I did over 6 years after college. And while I was going through college, I was working as an assistant to learn the business.
Yeah.
I got into real estate, really. I was at community college, didn't know what I was going to do next. I didn't want to spend more money on going to a 4-year education with not knowing what I wanted to do. And at the same time, my mom was selling our family home. So this is where it comes into play, selling your house and maximizing your value and also what you want through the experience. And I realized when she was selling her house, we had the first realtor involved and she had the house up on the market for 6 months. During that time, no one was living in the house. The house was sitting vacant. I mean, there were spiders in the basement, a little water in the basement. Yeah, we were just like, when is this house going to sell? And like, the crazy thing is when you don't know about the process and what to expect and the questions to ask, I mean, what do you know? Like, you're just going to sit there and wait for your house to sell. So we had that first experience with that realtor for 6 months. And then my mom, after the length of the contract ended with that realtor, she put it up with another realtor. It was actually a family friend. And that realtor increased the price. She told my mom a handful of things to do to the house. She was kind of on my mom all the time about it. But she got the house sold in 2 weeks for more money. My mom was so happy with the experience. And after that, I was like, this is pretty crazy. And I'm like, this lady works for herself. She makes such a big difference in people's lives. And yeah, I was like, how can I do that? And how can I get into that? So that's why this conversation about selling your house is so relevant to me, because it's why I got into the business. And that's what I hope to, you know, share with you guys is what to expect, you know, what questions to ask so that you can just have the best experience possible for what you're looking for.
Yeah. And you touched on something very important there is that you have to have the right team that's going to help you maximize your profits. And if you don't have a good team, if you don't have a good agent, your house can stall and you're missing out on all of that money, all of the opportunity costs you're building up, where you can't use your profits now to go buy the next thing as the interest rates go up, home prices go up. Now you're getting stuck, and eventually your house might sell, but now the whole market's, you can't really enter it again, right? Or is you're going to have to enter at a higher price.
Yeah, exactly. And like you were saying, I mean, with my mom, when I say the second realtor sold it for more money and it's finally coming together for me too, it's like she sold it for more money in a short amount of time. the same time, what were the carrying costs for the 6
Mhm.
months of like it being vacant? I mean, man, that's maybe, let's say $2,000 a month, just rounding it over 6 months. So then we're at $12,000 that just down the drain.
Yeah.
And the time and the energy and the stress that comes along with it as well. I mean, how much does that cost you? So yeah, I mean, she sold it for more money, but man, if she did that up front, like, who knows?
Yeah. Save $12,000 and you get a better deal, better profit, right? I'm looking forward to this process because I've never sold a house, but I've bought a house and I know how painful it is on the other side if you're not doing it right, don't have a good team. And especially if you don't understand the process yourself, right? It's great to have an agent who's going to help you out, but if you don't know what's going on, you're not going to be able to help the process move along. You might just be sitting there hoping that your agent's doing the right thing, but she might not be doing the right thing. And that's why you have to understand it yourself. And we're going to get into all of that today. And I can't wait to have Cassidee explain that for us.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited too.
Yeah. Step one is you have to know you want to sell your house. There's many reasons you might want to sell your house. And I'm curious, what have you heard from your clients? Why would someone want to sell their house?
Everyone's different, and that's something that we're going to get in through this, and it's going to be a common thread throughout every step. Is everyone's reason's different, so that determines how your process is going to be, how long it's going to take, how much work you're going to do. So some people want to downsize, so they want to take the money from their current house to put it into a new house. And a lot of times that current house is where a lot of their money's tied up in, so it's, you know, how much can I put into it? How much do I need for the new house? Kind of need the money from my current house to buy the new house. So what do I do about that? So downsizing's one. You're upsizing. You need more space. You're busting out those seams. You're growing your family or you want roommates or whatever. So you need more space. So am I going to rent this place out? Am I going to sell it? You want to buy another investment property. You want to make a better investment maybe. Your taxes on your current property are kind of too high. So you think, okay, let me get something that has lower taxes. So all sorts of reasons.
There's also, but we don't have that here in Pennsylvania, but there is the
1031.
There's the 1031 exchange, which will allow you to sell your house without having to pay the taxes on that sale because you're going to buy another house with those profits and roll it over. So the government won't tax you, which is great because selling your house, you get lots of money, but the government gets their piece, and it can be a huge amount, especially if you sell within or less than a year, because now you're getting taxed at your normal ordinary tax rate. But if you sell, even if you're at a long-term capital gains, 20% is a lot still, and you don't want to have to eat those costs. So you can use the 1031 exchange, and we'll get into all of that. So there's like you said, there's many reasons why, and there's many downsides that can also come with those reasons, and we're going to learn how to avoid those downsides as well. So now that I know I want to, let's say I want to upsize, I want to sell my house so that I can buy the next thing, right? Move to a nicer city and make room for the babies, right? that's what I want to do. And I have this house that I've had for 5 years. What's my first step to figuring out how to sell this thing?
I would say really just sit down and think about what's important to you throughout the process. So is it getting the most from your investment? Is it, I just want to sell right now. I already found the new house. I just need to get mine under contract so I can go into the new house. Is it, look, like I want to put work into it and then maximize my profit, or I don't want to put work into it, and really work through those steps, because that's what's most important. And it's really determining what's most important throughout for you throughout the process. And if maximizing your value is most important and you do have time, then you can do that, and really just getting to the bottom of that. And that's where, a realtor will come in, because like what I do with my clients is say, if they don't really know where they're at, where they stand, how much money they want to put into it, or what to do really to get their house ready for sale. A lot of times I'll give them 3 options and say, okay, this is your price if you're selling as is. You can get someone in here. I can get someone in here, get it sold within 3 weeks. Easy as that. Step 2 is, okay, well, I'm willing to put some money into it. So where do I put that money? How much money do I need to put into it? And then how much money will that make me on the end? And then the third one is, okay, I want to put a lot more money into it. I have a lot more time. And that's generally where you're going to get the most for your money. and for your property. So how long is that going to take, and how much money will that get me on the end? So each of those options, every time you go up the tier, you are going to make more money. It just is going to require more time, more managing, and what's important to you.
Yeah. Yeah. And you said 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Have you sold a house that fast?
Oh yeah.
Wow. What's your fastest?
2 weeks you can get a house under contract and sold, closed, done.
Wow.
Yeah. So an interesting thing too on that note is selling as is condition. A lot of people that I work with that choose that third option or that first option, they're going to say, okay, I got all of these letters in from the mail saying I'll buy your house in cash, this and that. And if that's the option you want to go in and you want to sell it that quickly, that's great. Go to a realtor that you trust, because the people that are sending you those letters most likely are going to be wholesalers and they're going to rip you off. Like, that's the bottom line.
That's definitely what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Hey, I was just talking to your neighbor. I just bought his house and he got a great deal. I would love to buy your house for 30% less than what the market price is.
Seriously. It's so true, and it's so crazy, and it's unfortunate. And that's where, like, even calling a realtors have an obligation to you. It's within our code of conduct that we do have to be truthful and we do have to be honest. And not to say everyone takes that with the same weight as everyone else, but they at least have to explain the process and tell you what the market value is. Exactly. These other guys, they have no loyalties to anyone, and they'll probably rob their mom. So yeah. Just like, be careful. Like, a realtor, people think like, oh, it's gonna be more expensive, it's gonna take more time. Like, it's not always the case. Yeah,
even if it's 6% a fee, right? That wholesaler is gonna get it. They're only doing that because it's worth their time, right? Yeah. If it's 6%, I don't know if I would be spending all that time working for 6%. But if I can buy your house for 30% below market value and then flip it for the full value, I'm gonna do that any day.
Any day. And it usually takes very little of their own money or none of their own money to do it. Like, they sell it before they even put any money on the table. Yep. So sometimes I'll talk to my clients, and if they want to do that as is sale, sometimes the wholesaler that I do work with will offer the most amount of money for it, and it still makes sense with the commission. And I'm at least able to bid them up and be their advocate and let them know, okay, this is what the market value is. Are you okay accepting a little less than that, so that you can have an ease of a sale? They're not going to ask any questions. You're going to be done quickly, and sometimes they do choose that option. So if you do want to use that option, at least be informed when you do go that route. Yeah. There's definitely value in that side of it, where it's convenient and you don't have to stress about any inspections or any special loans and waiting for it to close and all of that, right? So yeah, that's definitely something you should consider, but not blindly. Like Cassidee said, you should speak to a professional who can help you through that process. Definitely. Yeah. And so now I know what kind of sale I want to do. I don't want to do as is. I want to go through the whole thing and get the maximum sale price, right? Yeah, definitely. So what do I do now that I have an agent, right? What's next? Definitely what's next is... But before we get to that, if you enjoyed this video, do me a big favor and like the video below, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and comment your thoughts. It's important that you engage, because if you don't, YouTube won't recommend my videos, and I can't continue to make these videos for all of us to learn and build wealth together. So all you have to do is just engage below, like, subscribe, and comment. Thank you in advance, and now let's get back to the video. You want to have your agent come through, and people say like, oh, I'm not ready to sell yet. I'm not ready to have you through yet. And I'm like, guys, I don't care if you have stuff around your house. Like, you just came to my house and I told you I like shoved all the clothes in the back bedroom. Like, I don't care. Have me come over, or your realtor come over early on in the process when you're starting to think, so that they can talk you through where to put your money. Because that's the most important thing. If you say, look, I have $5,000 that I want to spend on my house, where can I put it to get the most amount of money? We're going to know where you should spend that money. And so you guessing on your own, like, that usually for people is like a non-starter for them, because they're like, I don't know what to do. Like, call us. Like, we're going to help you. We're going to tell you where to put your money. and maximize your value, because that $5,000 can make you $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, $30,000. It's unbelievable what $5,000 to even $2,000 can do for a property. You give me $10,000, like watch out. But like any amount of money that you're willing to spend, just let us know and we're going to work you through that process. And if you have a good realtor as well, we'll also be able to help you, connect you with those local people to help you take care of that work as well. So that's a benefit. And you say, look, Cassidee, I really want to use a lot of my money on the next property, or, you know, my money's tied up in my current house. A good reason to work with a Compass Realtor, and I'm not plugging my own company, but a big reason that I'm part of this company is the value that it brings to my clients. And one way that it does bring a value to my clients is if your money is tied up in the equity of your house, we have this program called Compass Concierge, which allows you to tap into the current equity of your house to pay for those improvements. So let's say you want to spend $5,000 on your house. We come up with a plan. It's going to make you $15,000, $20,000. We have this program. It takes 5 minutes to apply for the program. And really, it just loads money onto a credit card for you or direct deposits it into your account. There's no fees. There's no interest. There are no fees, there are no interest with the program. So it's really just like, okay, Lincoln, I need $5,000 to sell my house. Lincoln's my friend, and he's like, here, Cassie, like, here's $5,000. You just pay me at closing, and that's how the program works.
Oh,
like, it's
nice.
that clean, that simple, and you're like, why would anyone do that? And they do it because, like, the company makes money. The more your house sells for, the more the company makes. The more business we're able to get as agents, because we're able to, you know, give this service that's exclusive for Compass agents. So it really helps everyone, and it helps you make the most. So yeah.
And if you don't have that option because you went with some other agent for whatever reason, is there anything out there that might be similar, or maybe you have to borrow from a family member?
Yeah, you would just have to borrow from a family member. You could go to your bank and get a line of credit. You just want to make sure that, you know, if you are tapping into those things and then you are also purchasing another house, it's just something you want to be aware of, because you don't want to open new credit lines or anything like that throughout the process. So that's something different with this program. It doesn't open any credit lines, or it doesn't show up when you run the report. But there are definitely options. So if that's something you want to do, start getting resourceful, because it's not a joke when your realtor tells you, like, by doing these little things, it makes you a lot of money. Yeah. And even in this market, people are doing for sale by owner, or they're just throwing up their house as it is. And it's like, sure, you can sell your house that way. It just doesn't mean you're going to make the most money at the end of the day. Yeah.
Now we have you're my agent and I'm working with you. How do you get my house out there? How do you get in front of people?
So it comes back, like, we have two different ways that you can do it. And one is a private way. So you're like, okay, well, I have my dogs in here, I have my kids. I really don't want all these people through. Maybe you're worried about COVID, all these different things. You can do it privately, private exclusive, which is a way to get, you know, very qualified people through your house. And you have a number and you say, look, like, this is my number. If someone gives it to me, I'll sell it. So that's one way. The second way is market it to the public. Get it out there to as many people as possible. And by marketing it, we really have a multi-step process. So the first step for us is we want to get it to our agents while you're prepping your home. So let's say the ideal situation is, all right, Lincoln wants to maximize his value. He wants to put, let's say, always, right? He wants to put $5,000 into the property, and he wants to have it up on the market and sold in 4 months. So he comes to us, say, great. While you're making those improvements, after we've already done the first step and you're prepping your home, you know exactly what to do. We're going to put it up as a private exclusive listing. So we're going to start marketing it to our community as a Compass agent, as a private exclusive. So that's going to go to thousands of agents in our local area. So that's step one. And then we're going to trickle in other steps. So the second step is, let's say you're about a week now ready from allowing people into the house. We're going to put it as a coming soon listing onto the MLS. So maybe you've heard of the MLS. What that is, it's the multiple listing service. So that's like,
it's the magic.
Yeah, it's the magic. It's what we as realtors, we go in, and that's where all of the listings are going to be. And by putting it in the MLS, it's going to syndicate out to all of the other sites. So I hate to say it's Zillow, Realtor.com. all of those other sites that won't be named, but it gets out to everywhere. And that's really important because everyone starts their home buying process online. So our goal as a realtor is to get it out to everywhere. So we want to list it as a coming soon listing, and we want to put a couple pictures up now. We're going to take like a great picture of the front, maybe a great picture of the back. You're still getting the inside ready to go. So then what that does is, you know, it lets people know that your property is coming on the market, allows them to mark their calendars like, okay, it's the summertime. I'm not going to go to the beach this weekend because I know that this house that Lincoln has coming up is, you know, I want it. And I want to make sure my clients are through. So it allows people that time to prepare. So that's step 2, have it as a coming soon listing. And then step 3 is we're going to market it as active. So a lot of times what we like to do is we'll want to put it up maybe on a Tuesday or Wednesday as an active listing and start allowing showings through the weekend, and then price it right and hopefully have it under contract by, you know, Monday if possible.
Wow.
Definitely.
So you said 4 months is what I would want to, for me in that example, 4 months that I want to have it sell by. What's the average time it takes to sell a house? What should I expect? What's reasonable?
We can get a house sold and under contract through a traditional sale in 2 months, I would say is average.
Yeah.
Because that allows maybe 1 to 2 weeks that it's on the market and publicly listed. And then at that point, you have about a 45-day closing. But maybe you say, look, like that's too quick for me. I need more time. Like, we can ask for an extended closing. And that's where it comes down to pricing the house properly. When you price the house properly, it gets out to all of the important buyers that are out there, and it allows you to have your pick. Because when you have a pick of the different buyers out there, then you can say, look, like, you know, this buyer, maybe their lease is ending in a month. They need to go right now. And you're like, wait, I'm not ready. But if you have 5 buyers that are interested in the property, then you can say, okay, well, you know what? Maybe this price is a little less, but their terms are really clean, and they're going to allow me then, you know, 2 months after the fact to find a new place to live. Yeah. And that's what's really important to me.
Wow. So yeah, it's a juggling act. Yeah, because when we bought our house, the seller was trying to move to Brooklyn, and she had to line it up to make sure that she had a place to stay. So yeah, definitely have to figure out, even if you want to get your money as soon as possible, you might not want to do that because you don't have a place to live, you don't have a place to go, right? So you have to really make sure you have your ducks in the line. So what are any red flags that a seller should try to handle before they do an open house to have buyers come in to try to look around and see if they want to buy this house, and which ones are most important to make sure that you handle before listing your house?
That's a great question, because prepping your house is so important to make sure that it's as attractive as possible to the most amount of people. And that's the goal with getting your house ready for sale. It's really making sure that everything is lined up, it's clean, fresh. So a handful of things that everyone really should do, regardless of the condition of the house, is you want to make sure it's clean. Like, if you're a great cleaner, great. Otherwise, get a professional cleaner through the house right before you list it and put it up on the market. Maybe have a couple of people through, or ask your realtor to be honest, like, are there any smells that like I should notice and be aware of? Because people smell things. And that throws people off. Do you have pictures of your family on the wall? I mean, I know they're cute and everything. And like, I'm the first one to be like, whoa, who's that? Like, that is so cute. Put that away. Put that away, because we want to depersonalize your house as much as possible so that people can see themselves in there.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. So get it clean, depersonalize. Fresh coat of paint goes such a long way. Yeah, so a big example of this is when my mom was selling her house. When we had it previously listed, a couple of things that she would overlook, because like, who feels like doing this? But like, every time it rained, we have a creek in front of our old house, and there would be this puddle in the basement, unfinished basement, every single time it rained. So every time it rained, no one's living in the house. We'd have showings after, and you only have 1 or 2 showings after it's been up for a while, and then they just see this puddle in the basement. So of course, when you see a puddle in the basement, you're like, I don't want to have to deal with that. So red flag in the buyer's mind. How much water are you getting in here? Like, what's the situation? How much is that going to cost me? So anytime you see something and all of those questions start to happen, because it's natural, human nature, your brain just goes down a negative rabbit hole. So when you are selling a house, you want to do really the opposite. Like you want to put good things into people's minds so that it goes into a positive rabbit hole of opportunities, what it can be in the future. And so that puddle, you need to clean it up every time it rains. If you're not living in the house, like you need to get down there and clean it up. And just one example of like those little things that need to be taken care of. Yeah,
definitely. And at our house that we bought, we don't like bugs, but we walked into the house and we saw little bug plugins to keep the bugs away. And we asked the seller's agent, "Hey, what's that?" And she was like, "Oh, it's nothing." Like, no, I see it. There's a what is that?
Right.
Do you have bugs here?
Like they're not gonna have bug plugins if there aren't bugs.
Yeah.
So pick those up. Like get an exterminator to come a week before you're gonna list and throw the rest of that stuff out. You cannot have that lying around.
Yeah, exactly. And if you have, there was also like traps for the bugs, and she cleaned up the rest of them, but she forgot one of them. So you have to make sure you look everywhere, right, to make sure that there's nothing in there that's gonna throw off the buyer.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And a simple pet peeve, put the toilet seat down. No one needs to see the inside of your toilet seat. I was just at a showing yesterday and I was just like, ew, like that needed to be down. Now I'm grossed out. I'm like, oh gosh.
Why is this house so gross?
Exactly. Like it's because your toilet seat was down. So up. Put it down. Put it down. Yep. It's the little things. Yeah, and that's why it's important to, like, I really recommend staging your house. By staging your house, I know in our area, it's about $3,000 for a 3-month contract. Ooh. I saw your face. It seems like a lot of money. It seems like a lot of money. In my head, I'm like, $3,000 and you get to make $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 and your house is going to sell faster.
What do I get from staging? Why not just keep my own bed and my own couch and rug and whatnot?
Okay, so there are a couple of different stages of staging, really. So first stage is you can use what you have and you can move things, and sometimes just listening to your realtor or if your realtor is not good at it, maybe they'll bring in a stager themselves, but moving the couch over here instead of it being over here, little things like that. So that can be staging. It could be like switching out your shower curtain from something that's like wild and crazy to putting in a plain white one. Just simple little things. Putting flowers and taking everything off the counters, like that's staging as well. So take everything off your countertops. I'm looking at my counter now. I'm like, oh God. So take it all off. Take everything off your refrigerator. These are all little things that are included in staging, and that's something, if you have the right realtor, they're gonna tell you what to do, and listen to them, because that helps people when they come into the house and picture it themselves living in there. Then to take it another step further is if the house is vacant, maybe like the one that you bought, it's hard for people to envision space. Yep. It really is. Like people like to say, I like it when it's empty because I can see my own stuff in there. And if you're one of those people, I'm not making fun of you, and that's great. You are not the majority. You are not the majority. Most people, I walk into a space and I'm like, I don't know.
What's going here? What goes here? Where's the couch?
Where would my couch go? Can I fit a king bed in here? Yep. Can I fit a queen bed? Like, people don't know, and you're the minority. So don't leave your house empty. Put furniture in there. And generally it costs about $3,000. It makes your house sell quicker and for more money. And like, especially when it's a funky space, like that's when you need it the most, because people don't know. Like, you have a really teeny bedroom. You want that room staged, because otherwise people don't know what they're going to do with it. And then next, give me another house. Like, they can't deal with it. So
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. I think the people who sold us our houses, they used a staging because it looked so beautiful. It looked so cozy. Right? Yeah.
And it gives you that feeling. Like, that feeling doesn't come when a house is empty. Like, it just doesn't. And it helps people see themselves like in a cool space. Like, who doesn't want to live in a cool space? Like, I'll tell you a quick story of this house that my investor purchased it. He was selling it, so he renovated it, sold it. And he picked things like the first contractor like screwed him pretty much. Second contractor he had in there was a friend of his, And the friend of his had all these connections and all this stuff. So we ended up getting these cabinets that I wouldn't have picked myself. They're like 2013 cabinets and whatever. Like you're redoing a house and they're just, they're off-white, kind of like an older school feel, which is great. It's just not everyone's taste. So some of the things that he picked in the house just, one, didn't work together. Two, I don't want to say the work was sloppy, but like, some things were missed.
But it was sloppy.
But it was sloppy. But it was sloppy. It was kind of sloppy. I mean, man, they used, it was like purple drywall. And I forget what type of drywall it is. But then they painted it white. And like, I recommended them to paint it white to keep it bright because it was a little bit of a darker house. But I'm like, dudes, like, you could have told me that you can still see the purple drywall through the white paint. Like, come on. So you go into the house when it's empty. And I went in with my partner, Ben, and we're looking around and we're like, oh boy. Poor things. I mean, this project took them way longer than expected. And part of the budget from the beginning, I was like, you guys need to get this house staged. I brought my stagers in and I love their work. Like, I think they make places super cool. And they came in, they staged the house, and we both came back in and we're like, do we buy this house? I mean, it's so stupid, but it's incredible. Like what that does for a space. Like,
they're like a nice designer. Like they might not seem important, but they do very good work. And if they do, they save lots of money.
Definitely.
They're making money too.
Totally. I'm like, if that house wasn't staged, and that house, I think we nailed it on the price, and we had probably 20 people come through. One, I don't think we would have gotten that many people through if the house was unstaged. And then two, we would not have gotten that one offer in. Like, I can almost guarantee we would not have gotten that one offer in. We would have been up on the market for probably 2 to 3 months, and we listed at $275. We probably would have sold around like $250 because I would have told him, look, we need to do a price reduction. So if you're thinking the difference between $275 and $250, 3 months on the market, when you have carrying costs as well versus the $3,000 it took to stage the property, it's like, all day. Stage your property. Stage it. And if you don't have the money to do it, like we'll figure it out. Really.
Before we get to the offers that you have to consider, I'm just curious, what would cause a house to stay on the market for 100 days or 200 days? Like, why do you see some houses on Zillow that are up there forever, even in a seller's market?
Yeah.
When people can't even find a house to buy, right?
Yeah, it's so interesting. It's because they didn't do the things that we just talked about. They didn't price right.
Just watch this video and do what we say, and you won't be one of those examples.
Exactly. Yeah, like people think like, oh, it's maybe not a sure thing when you sell your house. It is. Like, it 100% is. Like, I can guarantee with confidence on both sides that my sellers are going to sell the house within their time frame, one, and settle within their time frame. Of course, there are sometimes things that come up that you can't control, and they're very, and we'll talk about that throughout the process. But I can guarantee that my sellers are going to sell. We're going to make it happen and get to closing for the price that we discuss, in the amount of time that we discuss. And then two, that my buyers are going to find a house within the time, and we're going to get it under contract, and we're going to get to closing, even in this market. Like, I can guarantee that because it's a controllable process. And it's probably why I like to be a realtor, because like there are a lot of pieces to it. If you know what the pieces are that go into it, you can control the process, and you know what to expect, and you can prep your clients so they know what to expect, so that you all can make it to closing on time. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. Okay, so now my house is now on the market for 100 days, 200 days. I worked with the right realtor, and she was able to help me find lots of offers. So what do I do with those offers? I got offers from the buyers. What do I do with them?
It really comes back to, one, what you're looking for, the timeline that you're looking for. And a lot of times in this situation, if we know that we price right, we're putting out a good product, and we're going to get multiple offers, we're going to tell the buyers. And so this is a no as a seller. Figure out what terms you want, because if you're getting in multiple offers, you want to be able to tell the buyers, look, like, we want this as settlement date. We possibly, need to still find a place to live, which is possible in this market. So what we want is a rent back. Yeah. So you can rent the house back. Sometimes buyers will even throw it in for free depending on what market you're in. So setting that expectation up front that look, we want this settlement date, we want this rent back, we want these terms. You want to put that up front. So when you're looking at offers, all of those terms are going to be included in that offer. So at least you can control some of them. And then, the only thing that's going to vary is like how much people are willing to pay and what they're doing about inspections. So you leave that up to the buyers. And then the last part of that is, how much cash people have as a buyer. And so, you hear cash is king and all of that stuff. And, we can't beat cash offers and this and that. And sometimes it's true. I have to be honest. It's sometimes true, especially in different price ranges when people do have cash. Sometimes people's family gives them cash. Sometimes people just are great with money and then they have 500 grand sitting around and I'm like, more power to you. I'm really impressed. But that is hard to compete with. But sometimes there are things that buyers can do. And okay, so as a seller, the reason that they're going to pick, and you may want to lean towards an offer that, the buyer showing more cash than the other is because, and even if they're financing a house that they're showing more cash than someone else, it's because you have a couple of different hurdles throughout the process. One, you're going to have inspections. So, maybe the buyers waive the inspection, so we can take that off the table. And if they have more cash, if things do come up during the inspection, or if your house does need a little work, the buyer with the cash is, they're expecting it. They're prepared. They have the money to take care of it. Second part of that, and the big part of why sellers will go with a cash offer or with a buyer that's maybe putting more money down or has more money, is because you have the appraisal. So the appraisal, when the buyer's bank sends a representative out to give a market value of the price to make sure that the buyer is not overpaying for the property, that's where you want a buyer that, one, if they're buying in cash, that whole process is a non-issue. You don't have an appraisal because you're buying in cash. So it doesn't even matter. So that's why sellers will accept that. If someone's putting more money down, it means that if there's an appraisal difference, and let's just say, if you're not super familiar, the house is listed at $300,000, the appraisal comes in at $280,000. You have a $20,000 difference that needs to be made up for dollar. The mortgage company is not going to finance that amount. So if you have a buyer that's putting 20% down, they're going to have more money. They can, one, put down their loan to value. So let's say they're putting 20% down. They can now put 15% down, and then now they have more money in their pocket to take care of that, or 10 or 5% down. So they have that flexibility where if you accept an offer that, it's a first-time buyer, they're putting 3.5% down, where are they getting that $20,000 from? You're stuck.
Nowhere.
You are stuck. And that's what, I think a lot of sellers maybe want to give it to someone that wants it more, needs it more, or something like that. When it comes down to business and making a good decision and getting that certainty that it will go to closing, that's why people will take an offer that has more cash, because they can get through that hurdle better than someone that has less cash.
Okay, so we know that cash is great, right? As a seller, it's easy to just get the cash and move on. But there are times when you might want to go with the person who's financing. And I'm curious, why would a seller want to choose a financed offer over someone who is paying cash in any circumstance?
Because a lot of times in this market, people with cash are like, I'm buying in cash, they're gonna take me over everyone else. So they don't put better terms. The buyer that is financing it may put better terms. They may address the inspections and say, look, either we're waiving the inspections or we're buying an as is condition. So we don't care about that. So you can cross that off your list as a seller. Sometimes as a seller, it's good to know the comps in your area, price accordingly, know what's up, because a lot of times, occasionally you won't know what it's going to appraise for, but a lot of times you do know what it's going to appraise for. A lot of houses have similarities, and your realtor can help you with that and help you understand the surrounding market to let you know if the appraisal is going to be an issue. I haven't ran into a ton of appraisal issues, so maybe that isn't something that you would be concerned about in my market, in my price range, because we know what the comps are. We know that the appraisal is going to be fine. So you will want to pivot towards an offer that has a better settlement date for you, or has better inspection terms for you.
I'm sure there's times where the cash offer isn't the top offer, right? Because someone who's financing might have more money that they can get from the bank.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And they can even waive the finance contingency as well. So they're willing to make up that appraisal difference. And so it's just a non-issue for you. So little things, and your realtor is going to help you stack them up and help you negotiate them to get you the most for it.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a issue to what you're speaking of with the appraisal, where the seller's asking price was pretty considerably above what the bank appraised it for, and we had to pretty much negotiate to figure out what we're going to do about that difference. And so they brought their price down, and we paid the difference of whatever was left. So yeah, there's definitely ways to get around that.
Definitely.
Cool. So now I've picked the offers I have all these offers, and I've picked one of them. What comes next after I pick the offer?
So once you pick the offer and you get under contract, depends on your situation. Are you moving? Do you need to find another place to go? Like you can get on that right then.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens generally in this process is, if you do have inspections, usually within the first week to 10 days, the buyer is going to come through and have the inspection on the property, and you're going to have to go through the inspection negotiations. Again, it depends on what the offer says, but if they are going through a standard inspection period, you should expect a reply from the buyer within the first 7 to 10 days, at least in the PA Philly area. Mm-hmm. You'll expect a lot of it is on the buyer side. Now, the seller side, what happens is it triggers a couple of things to happen in the background that you won't have to take care of. Like tax certs are going to get ordered. Your mortgage payoff, if you do have a mortgage, is going to get ordered. A lot of things happen in the background that you don't have to be hands-on with, but you do have to know that they're getting taken care of.
Yeah.
The buyer is going to order title. So a lot happens on the buyer, not so much on the seller side. And then you may say, like, okay, great, why do I need a realtor then? Because it doesn't sound like they're doing a whole lot. The reason that you do need it is a lot of the negotiation up front, helping you maximize that first offer, and picking a good offer is something that we didn't really talk about. We said, okay, like, what terms are you looking for in this and that? There is more to it. Like, okay, the mortgage company, if you are getting a financed offer,
right.
Really making sure that your realtor is qualifying that mortgage company and making sure that it is a solid mortgage company, making sure that, they tighten up those terms as much as possible. So that front end negotiation, you say like, oh, 6% is a lot of money. 6% can save you or make you a lot of money as well on the front end there. It can make you a lot when it comes down to the appraisal, if the appraisal difference comes in and how to handle that negotiation. Yep. During the inspections, like one part, if handling the initial inspection period when their offer is getting put in and making sure that's addressed versus it not being addressed can save you money. And then, if you do go through a standard inspection process, how are you going to negotiate that when that comes? Because that does make you money, or it can lose you a lot of money. So having experience through that process is super valuable. And we see it for us as, you're not paying us 6%. That's not our fee. You're investing 6% in us. And that investment, because you guys watch Lincoln's channel because you want to learn how to invest your money, and choosing the right realtor and investing your 6% in them is going to make you a lot of money. Yeah. And it's like that pivotal moment where you can either make a lot of money, or you can bet on the wrong horse and you're gonna lose a lot of money. And my mom bet on the wrong horse the first time, and like it lost their money, straight up lost their money.
A lot of money.
A lot of money. And so, and I think that first realtor charged 5%. Like, I've worked with her on other deals, and I'm just like, whew, like, I know how she's gonna be. Like, I made one of these like crazy situations happen for my buyer because she was selling her house and buying another one. And I was like, oh, I know that agent's on the other side and she's not proactive. Yeah. Like, we're okay. The house was up another 100 days. And I was like, we can get this offer accepted. I know no one else is coming in to steal it away from you. And we got something like super creative and awesome done because like they invested their commission into the wrong person. Yeah. And they were paying a fee versus investing.
Yeah. And even if there are times when you just, you're fine doing the paperwork and you're fine with the hassle, so you'll just go ahead and do it yourself. But most people don't want to deal with paperwork, right? And especially if you don't understand what's going on. So for me, I get the 6% fear, but I just want the convenience of just, you deal with that. Yeah. I have the money. Let's just get it done. Yeah. Right?
Totally.
Yeah. So we didn't talk about, like you said, we didn't talk about the loans too much, but I'm curious when it comes to offers, just so we can go back to that real quick. There are different types of loans that a buyer can come with: the conventional, the FHA, the what's it called, VA, right, and different types of renovation loans, the 203K and the home style. So what do I need to consider as a seller when I am considering all these different offers, and they all have these various loan options, right?
Definitely.
What things might throw a wrench in my process if I pick the wrong offer that has a more complex loan?
So conventional is going to be like the conventional option, the most standard and smooth process for you as a seller to pick, hands down. Usually the buyer has a stronger credit score, so that's how they got into the conventional program. Maybe they have more money to put down as well, so that's how they're in the conventional program. And a big difference is going to be the appraisal process with the conventional versus FHA or VA. So conventional, really, they're coming in, they want to make sure that the house is in, working condition. But, if there's a leak or a mark in the ceiling, they're not going to care.
Yeah.
Or if the roof is, 30 years old, they're not going to care. If your heater is 100 years old and you have like an old boiler, they're not going to care. When you have an FHA offer come in, usually the buyer is, I don't want to say they're always not as strong. Like, I just bought this house FHA, so.
You're not strong.
I'm not a strong buyer. I think I missed a mortgage payment accidentally. I don't know, on my credit. No, I'm just kidding. But usually a lot of first-time buyers are FHA because they don't have as strong of a credit history. They don't have as deep of a credit history, which does impact your credit. And so I'm going to say that's why I was FHA.
What's
I don't
FHA?
exactly know the reason. It's backed by the federal government, the loan is. So the interest rates, if you do have a little bit lower credit score for various reasons, it makes more sense for the buyer to go through an FHA process. The federal government wants to protect their investment. So the appraisal process is going to be a little more stringent. It used to be a lot more stringent. So some buyers that haven't bought and sold in a while, they're going to say, and maybe that's you watching this, but maybe not because you're watching a YouTube video on how to sell your house. So you may not have those preconceived beliefs about FHA, but maybe your parents told you, like, don't accept an FHA offer and you were conventional when you bought that house. It's not as bad as it used to be. Like, it really is not as bad. But through the appraisal process, if you do have that 100-year-old heater, they're going to want a heater certification from you before closing as a seller. If, the roof is missing a couple of shingles, like, they may ask you to get a roof certification for that. If there's chipping paint, and I brought this up in the home buying video, but like, I forgot, as a realtor, that FHA is going to require you to get all the chipping paint taken care of on your property. So if it's windowsills, if it's around your door frame, if it's the front of your house, like, they want to make sure that their investment is protected. So they're going to ask you to take care of that. So on the appraisal on my house, they came out and they needed that to be taken care of. As part of my offer to get it accepted, I put a big seller assist in there. My house was up on the market for a little bit. So I was just like, let me see how little money like I can pay for this house. So I told him, in exchange, like, if anything does come up for FHA, that, like, I'll take care of it myself. So me as a buyer, and you could have that as a buyer on your house. Me as a buyer, like, I had someone come out and take care of the chipping paint on my house. But those are the things that you have to take into account when you are accepting one offer versus another, one loan package versus another, because it can have an impact on you.
Yeah, and I have a story for all of these because we went through this process and we offered with a conventional because the seller said they were only going to accept a conventional, no VA, no FHA. And at some point, my lender decided that, oh, you should probably go over FHA. And so, and we're like, the seller said, no, we can't do FHA. Even though that would be good for us, we get a lower down payment and all of that. We say, okay, cool, let's give it a shot. If the seller will go with it, then let's do it. And it turns out the FHA wasn't going to work at all because the government realized that, oh, we don't have a second exit to our second unit, and this is a 2-family house, so there's not 2 different exits. You can't sell it. It's not suitable for FHA. And so we go through that process. We already got through the diligence, and then we had to go over again. So now the seller is waiting when they're trying to move to Brooklyn and trying to be a part of that culture, that vibe. And so now we have to wait another month, right? A month or a month and a half.
Yeah.
And it just makes everything more complicated. So those things can happen to you. And so you definitely want to understand what the different types of loans are and what might happen if anything changes later on with your buyer. If your buyer decides that they want to go with FHA, probably want to say no. Let's not change the process, right? But no, I mean like later on.
Okay, later
right?
on.
Yeah, if they want to change their mind, right? Because
I would say if you have a standard house, a single family house, you're gonna be okay accepting an FHA offer, unless there's damage to the house that is visible, that you can see. And you know what too? If you're deciding between the two, and it's better for the buyer, because I work with a lot of buyers, so like I want to protect them as well. Yep. I want to make sure that if they can get into the house for less money, and I just did this with my buyers, because we were competing against a conventional offer, and we had an FHA offer, and we saw and we ran the numbers for conventional, and for this first time home buyer, it's a mother and daughter, and it's their first house, and it's a huge deal for them. The difference was like $4,000, which is a ton for them. And the monthly payment was just higher than they wanted to pay and that they really could pay. Yeah. So they could stretch it. So we're really lucky that the agent on the other side was awesome and educated and understood the process and allowed her seller to pick and feel confident in picking an FHA offer versus a conventional offer, because okay, maybe it's going to be a couple $100 of FHA items that come up versus the $5,000 more that we offered. So just having someone that can inform you on the process so that you understand, what are the risks of me taking an FHA versus a conventional, and really weighing them, because it could make you money. Yeah. So that's one of those moments where, and it could be better for the buyers. And
definitely.
Yeah, because it probably would have been better for you. But
it would have been great for us.
But the 2-family property, that's where it does make it a little trickier too. And there is, if you do have a multifamily property, that's something that your agent, as long as they've been in the business for a little bit and they seem well connected and on it, they're going to be able to talk to their lender that they're cool with and make sure that, and that they trust, and make sure that, the property that you have will be okay with FHA. And you're going to know that up front, because the more that you know up front is going to help you in the future. And let's say you're missing, central air, or you do need a new roof or whatever, and you're not going to put that money into the house. It's sometimes good to get quotes up front so that when the buyer's agent comes in and is like, look, we're offering this because you're missing this, you're gonna be like, look, central air is $7,000, just go the quote on my house, but $7,000, and the new roof is gonna be, let's say, $10,000. They know that up front, and you say, look, we already worked that into the price. This is the price based on these items, so we already have the numbers for you. And that's a negotiation point. The more the buyers know, the better off they're gonna be, and the more confident that they're going to be to put in a higher price, because they know what to expect.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good suggestion you got there. So we now have the offer, and we went through the inspection, and now it's time for the appraisal. How long does that appraisal process take? What goes into that?
Yeah, definitely. So slightly dependent on the buyers and the buyer's mortgage company and your settlement date. So if you have a quick closing, 30 days, you can expect the appraisal to be done in, let's say, 2 weeks, and you'll have that number. If you do have more of an extended closing, the mortgage company is not going to pay a little extra money for a rush appraisal. So it may take 3 to 4 weeks for you to get that number back and to get that report. Now, for you as the seller, you may be dying to know what your house is appraised for. And most of the time, you're not going to find out. And you maybe will find out after closing if you ask your realtor to follow up. Generally, all you'll know as the seller is your house appraised, you're good to go.
Yeah, that's all that matters.
It really is all that matters. And the buyer is not going to say, oh, look, it appraised for $5,000 more. Because
Yeah.
then you'll be pissed as a seller and want to come back and be like, hold on, I want to put my house back on the market and get $500,000.
Yeah.
So you're not going to find out.
Yeah. And now we have the appraisal. We know what the house is worth. Well, we don't, but the buyer does. And the bank's okay. They're happy. They can move on with the diligence process. How long does the next step take? Because now it's time for the bank to do their work and diligence and make sure that the house is good. The buyer has all of the necessary funds and they're not a fraud and all of that good stuff. How long is that going to take until we get to the closing table?
So if you have a closing date in place, let's say you have a buyer and they are financing the house, as long as it's a good mortgage company, they're going to know what to do and they're going to stick to the date. So that's why it's really important that your agent talks to that lender. She's comfortable with that lender, or he, that they're comfortable with that lender so that they can have trust in them that they're going to keep the buyer on track to hit your settlement date. That's what, like, it comes back to having the right team. And you want to make sure that even though the buyer is different, like, they're part of your team. Like, maybe they're the other team, but like, you're not having a game without right? The other team.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know, maybe the agents are the refs to make sure that everyone like plays fair and like keeps the game going and on track and hits their timelines. But yeah, you want to make sure that the buyer, you know, wants to play the game and like is in on it, and that the mortgage company knows what's up. And as long as all the parties involved know what's going on and you can trust in them, then you're going to hit that settlement date and be able to close on time.
Great. Yeah, it's good to hear. Cool. So now we have the diligence, bank's happy, closing day. How's that work?
Yeah, closing day. So it's interesting. Prior to COVID, we used to have sellers at closing all the time. You would sit at a table. Sometimes it's really fun. Sometimes it's really awkward. Like, you just don't know who's going to be there. So it used to be sellers, buyers, everything. Now, since COVID, it changed things a lot. A lot of times sellers don't come to closing anymore. They'll sign a deed package ahead of time. They'll send out the documents. And then the day of closing, either they're going to sign electronically or they're going to allow the agent to sign on their behalf. But for you as a seller, what you want to expect is, depending on what you negotiate, but generally you want to have the house completely cleaned out. You want to have it broom swept and clean for the new buyer. You don't want to cancel your homeowner's insurance until after closing and you get your check. You want to make sure that you're protected, because if for any reason closing gets pushed back a day and you're not protected for that one day, I mean, that's the day that tree is going to fall on your house. And you're going to have to pay. So keep that going. Yeah. Buyers are going to transfer the utilities into their name, but you can call the utility companies and tell them to transfer it out of your name as of this date. But you do want to make sure all the utilities are on for the day of closing so that buyer can come through and test everything. And one thing that we didn't bring up too is, as a seller, you may think like, oh, well, that's not going to look good for me if I tell the buyer this. Doesn't matter. You have to disclose everything. Yeah. Protect yourself, protect your agent. Like, don't put them in an uncomfortable position. Don't put yourself in a position where the buyer will come back because they're living in this house. You think they're not going to find something out? Like, they're going to find out. So you want to make sure to disclose it, or else it can come back to you at any point throughout the process or after closing.
Yeah, definitely make sure that everything's good and brought up, because the buyer, because you do have the final walkthrough, the buyer can cancel if there's something big that was against the contract. It's unlikely, but there is that chance.
There is that chance. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, so that's our process, right? We covered everything. Yeah. So cool. We sold a house.
Congratulations, you hypothetically sold your house.
Yeah. No, I just realized the seller wasn't there at our closing.
Was he?
The seller was not. Yeah, she wasn't there. Neither was the agent. Yeah.
So it's just you guys.
Yeah, it was just us and our banker, or who was that? Who was that guy? Our lawyer. Our lawyer was there, and he just handled everything.
Nice.
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, and it was at the title or whatever company that does that, and we got the keys. We drove to the house and moved in.
Nice.
Yeah, we didn't really. Awesome. Yeah, we just checked around. I mean, they didn't really clean up that well. We had to do lots of cleaning, but here, there, right? So, yeah, I mean, you should try to follow this process. pretty closely. But of course, you don't have to get it perfect. You have your team. That's why you have an agent. They can guide you through that and handle most of it, so that you don't have to really understand all the details. But it's good to have understanding of what we just covered here, so that you can follow along and be educated, so that you're not getting screwed by a agent who doesn't understand what they're doing actually, and it's keeping your house on the market for longer than it should be, or taking the wrong offers, or whatever. There's many things that can go wrong. We're all human. Agents can do wrong too. So you want to have the ability to weigh in. Of course, agents don't like if you try to control the process too much, but it's good to be educated.
Yeah, definitely educate yourself. So important. And yeah, a lot of times people, you look at your house, I think it's either one or two ways. You think your house is the best thing to ever hit the market, or you think that, there's a lot of problems with my house. And that's the way my mom felt. She was like, that's probably why it's not selling, because there's things wrong with my house. And like, I know there are things wrong with it. And then you start to like get down on yourself, and that's what costs you money. I mean, both extremes will cost you money, and just know that every house can be made great for the market. It can sell in an amount of time that is predictable, and you want to make sure to be proactive about the situation. And when you're selling a house, like, that's the most important thing, is just being like on it, like with it, or having someone that's on it for you and that can tell you what's up.
Yeah.
Because everyone can sell their house in a set amount of time and can control the process.
Yeah. So
if your house is sitting and it's just chilling up on the market and not selling, ask yourself why. Like, what about it? Chicks out.
So with all of that, we're nearly done. Just the last question that I have before we get into final thoughts. What if I just want to avoid all of this? Why not just sell to Open Door or Redfin or whoever wants to buy, with the iBuyers?
Yeah.
Why not sell to them? Or pros and cons? Just
Definitely.
real quick.
Yeah. Great question. Pros and cons. Pro, quick, easy. You're done. No questions asked. See, the con is like price. I mean, that's it. Like price. Like, you're going for convenience over price. And you can go to a realtor like me, and maybe you don't know how to find one that's like me, but you can go to a realtor and say, look, I want my house sold quickly. This is the number I have in mind. This is what I was offered by these companies. Can you get me that?
Yeah.
They say, look, like, I can't get you that. Then sell it to one of those companies. Yeah. And I'm working with a client right now that has a wholesaler that offered her $260 for a property, and she wants me to get her $300 so it covers my fees and everything. And I'm like, okay, great. I'll bring as many people through as possible, and I'll let you know if I can get that or not. And I'm not getting her that. Like, it makes more sense to go to the wholesaler, and like, I'll tell her, like, go for it. So yeah, just try and go to a realtor. It's going to take a couple of calls. I mean, you can reach out to Lincoln. You can reach out to me if you want that quick.
Don't call me, call her.
Yeah, call me. You're right. Okay, call me. And I'll get you connected with a realtor who's going to tell you what's up, because you're probably going to leave money on the table. And if you want a quick process, a realtor can give you that process, and they're going to get you more money, and they can give you that smooth process. It's all possible. Like, yeah. So just take like one extra step, call a realtor, get them in your house, no matter what condition. I sell things in a lot of conditions that any condition, really. Like, I don't care. All I care about is getting you the most money for your house. And if you find the right realtor, that's all they're going to care about as well. Yeah.
People will buy anything. I was looking for a house in California when we were out there in SF, and I looked all across the SF Bay Area, and the only thing I found my price range was a piece of land for $200,000. Someone eventually bought that. So people will buy anything, even if it's burnt. Like, they'll buy, they'll fix it up, they'll add value, and they'll whatever get their cash out and do it again. So there's lots of ways that people will take a broken down home, or even if it's not broken down, a house that is distressed in whatever ways, even if it's just cosmetic, and fix it up and find your own value in it. So know that your house has value for someone out there, and you will be able to sell it, right? Especially if you have the right team. So I have someone here who is highly respected. So we'd love to know, how can we find you?
Definitely. You can reach out to me on Instagram at Cass the Realtor. You can send me a text. You can give me a call. You can send me an email. Will you link my information?
Of course.
Do you want me to tell you?
Of course. Yeah, you can also tell it.
All right.
Yeah.
267-266-0347. And you can find me on email, Cassidee.Curran@compass.com. And my name is spelled, Lincoln will write it.
Yeah. You'll see it. Yeah.
You'll see it. It's a little tricky, but you'll find it.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely reach out to me. I mean, I have friends all over the country that are realtors that do business the same way that I do and will help you. So no matter where you are, just know that there are good realtors around you that can help you. And it's just a matter of finding the right one.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a networking game.
Yeah.
Even if you don't know someone there, you have a realtor in your own hometown, you move somewhere else, they might be able to link you up with someone in that space that you're at. So it's definitely good to network with different realtors wherever you are.
Definitely.
Yeah. So thanks again,
For sure.
Cass, for joining
today
and giving us all these tips and this walkthrough, this ultimate guide to selling your house, right? And selling real estate. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the next talk. We're gonna do more videos on real estate investing. And if you're interested in learning how to buy and sell houses and different types of property and just building wealth in real estate, you can find it. You can find the content you need to do that here at bullacademy.org. So stay tuned. We have more coming. Cass will be joining us again soon, and I can't wait to see what kind of content that she creates on this channel. So stay with us. So thank you again for watching. If you enjoyed this video, do me a big favor and like it below, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and go follow Cassidee on Instagram and reach out. She's here to help you if you need any follow-ups. And yeah, we'll see you again soon.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm Lincoln with FORRE.org. Thank you again and have a great day. Ooh, we're almost there.
We're almost at the end of the process. Maybe quicker to sell a house at this point than
let's get
this video.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.